So in this position, you've got a couple of options. So that really depends on what's happening in your pelvis. So if you want to work your hips a little bit more, if you want to stretch your hips if they feel tight, then bring the soles of your feet together and just let the knees drop out to the sides. So that can be something that you can use as your hip opening practice. If that's not comfortable, if you don't want to do that, then you can just sit cross-legged. If you are more than 34 weeks pregnant, then sitting cross-legged might restrict some of the blood flow in the legs. So you might want to bring the feet into a little more of a sort of diamond shape. So whatever is the most comfortable position for you to sit is the one to adopt. And just rest your hands, one over your baby and one over the middle of your chest. And then just close your eyes. And just take a moment. So particularly if you've had a busy day today, if you've been rushing, if you've been working, if you've had a long commute, then just take this time to relax, to ease into stillness. With the hand that's resting over your baby, just feel your connection with your baby. Notice if you feel any physical sensations underneath your hand, and you may or may not be experiencing movements yet. But also notice what you're feeling on an emotional level. So this hand position we call the heart-womb connection. So we are connecting energetically and psychologically our heart energy, the seat of our unconditional love and compassion. So in yoga we work with this area, we call it the heart space, the heart chakra, and it's the location for our emotions, for our unconditional love and compassion. And so we are joining these two centers together, deep into the womb where your baby is growing, nurturing, developing, and connecting them to this heart energy. And then it also helps us to connect with our breathing as well. So as you next breathe in, notice how the breathing is. Tune in to the ease or difficulty that you might be having with your breathing at the moment. And again, that will relate to the stage of your pregnancy that you are at. See if you can lengthen the breath a little bit. And as you breathe in, can you feel a slight change in your hands? So as you breathe in, does it feel as if the two hands are gently pulling away from each other? Do you feel the chest lift? You might also feel your baby lift as you breathe in. So just notice if there's any subtle movement happening underneath the hands. And then we're going to alter the breath slightly. So we're going to work with ocean breath. So you're going to very lightly constrict the muscles in your throat as if you were snoring or as if you were sighing under the breath. So it's the same feeling we have in the throat as if we were making that sound, but we're doing it with the mouth closed, so it's more of an internalized breath. And you're breathing in and out through your nose. And what this does is it lengthens your breath. It's a very calming and soothing breath. but it also brings more oxygen into your body. So it's a really good breath to use regularly, so not just inside the classes, but outside your class as well. Just listening to the sound. And then following the rhythm of your breath. So keep the breath going, relax your hands down. And the next time you breathe in, just lightly sweep your arms out to the sides and up over your head. You're all right there, you're not going to get hit by the fire extinguisher. And then breathing out. And bring the hands back down into the heart space. We're just going to do that a couple more times. So breathing in, reaching out and up, and then breathing out the hands, come all the way back down. And just do that one more time. So it frees up the muscles around the rib cage, muscles around the shoulders. And then relaxing. So now you can release your legs out from whatever position they were in. Just give them a little bit of a shake. And give them a little bounce. And then we're just going to do a little bit of loosening up into the feet and ankles, then working up into the hips. Again, this is quite a good one if you've been static all day. So just going to start wriggling your toes. Just moving the toes forwards and backwards. You might get a bit of clicking, a bit of cracking, which is a good sign. And then push the toes away and then pull them backwards. And do that a few more times. So this is getting into the calf muscles. And it's quite useful to work these muscles because varicose veins in the back of the calves is quite common in pregnancy. And that is to do with all of the blood vessels becoming looser and slacker due to this hormone relaxin. And the blood vessel walls need to be a bit softer because you've got 40% more blood circulation, 40% more blood volume. So they need to be a bit more stretchy to accommodate this extra blood that you've got coursing through your veins so that you can then send the blood into your baby. So that's why we have 40% more blood, because your baby has that 40%. But what it means is that the circulatory system is under a little bit more strain, and it often shows up in the calf muscles. And the thing that drains blood from the calf muscles is moving the muscles. So the veins don't have a pump. So now we're going to circle the ankles around. Veins don't have a pump. So arteries move blood away from the heart, and they are assisted by the heart. So you've got this big heart beating which pulses the blood through all the arteries and around the body. But then the veins don't have the pump. What they rely on is muscles moving. So if you don't move your calf muscles very often, and particularly if you don't ever do any sort of drainage, you know, where you've actually got the legs up, then the blood just pools in the veins in the back of the legs, and then it can turn into varicose veins. So it's useful to keep these moving, which is why they say walking and swimming are really good. Walking, swimming, yoga, the three things are the best things to do during pregnancy. Not a lot of walking happening at the moment. Hopefully this is the last of our storms. Okay, so now picking up your right leg, and just, you might need to take it out to the side to give your baby some space. And then you're just going to straighten and bend that leg. So again, just a little bit of that inversion. And then bringing the foot across and holding it with your hand, and then holding your knee with your other hand. And then just some gentle rocking here. So these, again, quite good exercises to do in the hips. So if you are getting any hip discomfort during your pregnancy, then these movements can be quite good to do regularly. Okay, all right, and then if you can, see if you can circle. Love your faces in these classes. It's perpetual. It's like your face isn't hiding anything, is it? Okay, and then just rest the ankle on your thigh and gently lift it up and down. See how that feels. Is that getting deeper into muscle, deeper into the joint? And then we can take it around. And that's just going to be a static stretch. You're going to bring the heel around towards the left hip as far as it will go. Or not.
That's my favourite, Julie.
This is your favourite. Yeah, it's a good one to persevere with because it stretches the iliotibial band, but also stretches open the sacroiliac joint as well. Is that not going anywhere? Have you got any issues with your hips?
No, I'm just not very stretchy or bendy.
Okay, we'll work on that. Now's the time, because you're quite soft, you know, all the ligaments and the tendons and the fascia start to soften when you're pregnant. So, you know, if you feel that you're stiff, this is a good time to work with it.
Great, sort me out.
And you can take that leg, have a little bit of a shake. And we're going to do the same on the other side now. So left leg, again, make some space for your baby. Straightening and bending. And then holding the ankle, holding the knee, and gentle easing from side to side. And just noticing how that feels. And then you can also circle the knee around. And then resting the ankle onto your thigh. And inhaling, lift the knee. Exhale, lower. And then we're going to bring the leg all the way around for that static stretch. So feeling that now in the hip flexors, iliotibial band, and a little bit into the sacrum. Just holding it for a couple more breaths. And then releasing and giving a little wobble and a stretch. Okay, so we're going to come and lie down just for a couple of moves. So ease yourself down onto the back. I'm going to do a little dynamic movement. So it's pretty much what we've been doing sitting up. So just let the lower back nuzzle into the floor. Have your inner thighs touching and together, and have your feet fairly close towards your body. So
So the two things are going to happen on the inhalation. The first one is the arms are going to reach up and back behind you. So if you're right up close to your radiator or the wall, you may need to make a bit of space. Now when the arms go all the way back, you want to get them completely onto the floor. Is that everybody's got to know? I should have mentioned that. By the way, you're going to need some space. Yes, my bad. Actually, yeah, the shuffling was the first part of the sequence. So when you take the arms all the way back behind you, you want to get them flat on the ground. So you don't want any part of the back of your arm lifting up. What that means is that you'll probably need to take your wrists wider than your elbows. And you'll probably need to take the arms into more of a Y shape with soft elbows than a dead straight line, because most of us are inherently tight around this upper part of the body. When you get the arms in the right position, you get a really nice stretch across the armpit and across the pecs. So that's the first part. So you're going to remember where the arms are in that full extension so they touch the ground. And then on the out breath, they will lower down. Now we're going to add in a leg movement here. So inner feet are touching. So Sam, if you walk your feet in, that's it. So the legs are together, inside edges of your feet touching. So now on the inhale, the arms are going to do what they've just done, but you're also going to let the knees drop out to the sides. And you'll need to change the position of your ankles. So if you can, you bring the soles of your feet together. The top of your inhale, the arms are all the way back behind you, knees are open wide. And then on the out breath, you lower the arms and you push your feet into the ground and bring the knees back up to the centre. So at the end of the exhale, you're back in that start position. Okay, and that's all there is. You're going to keep doing that. This is called sunflower pushpasana. So it's this idea of a sunflower opening out into the sunshine and then closing back down at the end of the day, all the petals closing back in towards the centre. And in this instance, in fact in all instances, the centre is your baby, so that your baby is the centre of your sunflower. You're radiating out from the centre and then closing back down in towards the centre. So just doing that a couple more times. And sometimes gravity can do a better job of loosening the hips. So when we did this sitting up, you might now find it's a little easier because gravity is allowing the knees to drop down a little closer towards the floor. And then the next time, you lower the arms down, you can finish, and then roll over onto your right side. Yeah, there's nothing pregnant women like more than rolling over. And then prop your elbow underneath your head. So you're on your hand, your elbow is propping yourself up, and you're supporting your head in your hands. Now bend the knees and keep the ankles together. So a little bit of strengthening work. So again, I like to do this one quite regularly. Really good for keeping the hips strong. So as well as getting them to be nice and loose, we need to have strength there as well, because it's going to prevent a condition called symphysis pubis dysfunction. So keeping the ankles together, as you breathe in, just lift the left knee up towards the ceiling. Don't rock the hips back, so keep the hips level, and then on the out breath, lower the knees back down. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it a few more times. So on the in breath, lift the knee up. On the out breath, lower back down. So have the heels fairly close in towards your bottom, so that you've got a kind of a right angle with the legs, because then you'll feel that's going to go much more into your hip. And you'll probably find this work in your glutes and the muscles on the outsides of your thighs. So these will contribute to a strong pelvic girdle. So you might be thinking, what's the pelvic girdle? So the pelvic girdle are all the muscles that hold the pelvis together. So the muscles at the sides of the hips, the glutes, the abs, pelvic floor, so inside and outside, piriformis, all these muscles contribute to having a strong pelvis. So the next time you finish, we can stretch the legs and the hips as well. So you're going to bring the knee, the top knee, not the bottom knee because you'll fall over, top knee towards your head and then extend it up towards the ceiling. So the top knee facing up towards the ceiling, and you can rest your left hand on top of that knee. So this is kind of almost like a birthing position. So it might feel a little ungainly, but a lot of women give birth in this position, and sometimes one of the midwives will hold this upper leg out of the way. And you can also, if you imagine pushing that top foot against a wall, so just imagine if you're bracing and pushing that top foot against the wall, you get quite a nice push. It's kind of like a lying down squatting position. But that's not why we're doing that, that's just a by the by. What we're doing here is we're stretching the perineum. So you're going to squeeze the knee towards your head and just feel that little stretch in the undercarriage. And then from there, straighten the leg up to the ceiling. So now we can work with a hamstring stretch. Now you might not get the leg straight, so you can hold the ankle, you can hold the calf muscle or the shin, or if you can get away with it, you can hold the big toe. So whatever works for you, whatever part of your body you can access to straighten this leg. So again, we're draining again here. So most of us can't do inverted poses during pregnancy, or even not in pregnancy. But this is a good idea to, you always hear that, pregnant women should put their feet up. That's why you put your feet up, for this drainage to stop the varicose veins in the calf muscles. And then bend the knees. And then you're going to roll onto your back again, and we're going to do a bit more hip opening, and then we'll do all those two poses on the other side. So feet are back on the ground. This time your feet are hip distance apart. You're going to take the right ankle, put it on top of your left thigh. So again, we did this pose sitting, and now we're going to add a little bit of a deeper hip stretch here. So you're going to lift the left knee away from the floor, so the left foot comes off the floor and that right leg comes a bit closer in towards you. Now you're going to be hampered by one of two things here, and it depends which of those hampers you most. The first obvious one is that your baby prevents the thigh coming any closer. There's nothing you can do about that. The other one is that your hips may be too tight to bring the leg closer. So you can just work that leg towards you to deepen the stretch in the hip. You might want to circle both legs around. So you might find that there's more space or more of a nice sensation by just circling the legs around. And then you're going to keep the right leg kind of where it is, touching the left leg, but lower the left foot back down to the ground. Take your arms out to the sides, and now you're going to drop both knees over towards your right side. So the right leg goes outwards and the left knee goes inwards. The left leg rotates inwardly. So again, another stretch for the hip, also a little bit of a stretch for the lower back. Is that okay for everyone? So just exploring this move for a couple more breaths. And then slowly come all the way up. And then you're going to roll over onto your left side this time. Prop yourself up onto your left hand. And I'm going to do this clamshell move on this side. So prop yourself up so that your head is supported and your elbows on the floor. The knees are bent at a right angle. Ankles are touching. And on your in-breath, lift the right knee up. And on the out-breath, lower it down. And we're just going to continue to do that a few more times. So again, it's working part of your pelvic girdle muscles. So very important part of the pregnancy anatomy that we need to keep strong. couple more. And then from here, coming into the stretching. So bring the right knee up towards your head and then send it up towards the ceiling. Place your right hand onto the top of your knee. And again, just try that for size. Maybe this side feels better, like as a birthing position. So imagine that you're pushing against a wall and just feeling what that might be like to deliver your baby in this position. And then just squeeze the knee towards you so that you're getting this stretch into the perineum. And then stretch the leg up to the ceiling. So same thing again, you can either hold the shin, hold the ankle, or hold the big toe if that's accessible. And the leg can be straight or it can be slightly bent. So you work with whatever you can, whatever feels the most accessible. And bend the knee, lower it back down. And then come onto your back again. Last time, I promise. Come onto your back. And this time you're going to place your left ankle over the right thigh. So left ankle bone rest onto the right thigh, and then just see if you can bring the right leg off the ground to deepen that work in the hip. And you can either move the knee close in and then move it away, or you can circle the knee around. And then you might want to circle in the opposite direction. And then dropping the right foot back down to the ground, but the left leg stays in that same articulation. Take your arms out to the sides, and now take both knees over towards your left side. The left knee drops towards the left side, and then the right hip goes into internal rotation. So noticing how that feels. And just holding that for a couple of breaths. And then slowly bring the knees back up, undo your leg, and then rolling onto whichever side feels the right one, and then slowly push all the way up and come up. Okay? So from here, coming over onto your hands and onto knees, making space for your baby between your legs. So you might not know what that space is until you actually come back to do it. As you breathe out, tuck your tailbone under, roll the spine to the ceiling, and then take the hips all the way back towards the heels. Now, this is the place where you might find you need a bit more space, you might want to widen the legs a little bit more here. And then see if you can rock gently from side to side. It's a nice stretch of the lower back. So particularly if you can keep your tailbone tucking under so that you're keeping the decompression into the lower back. And then the next time you breathe in, push into your shins, come all the way up, and then just bring the knees back to neutral. Take the right leg back, toes coming to the floor, and push the heel away. So cramp stretch, another bread and butter pose that we do every week. So keep pushing the heel away so that you can really feel the stretch going into the calf muscle. then we're going to circle this leg around. So what you're going to do is just slide it around in a circle, and then you need to bend it and slide it all the way back. You're kind of drawing a half circle and then sliding it all the way back, okay? You've got enough room to do that. You're not taking out your neighbour. Now, the next time you do that, you're just going to come halfway and take the leg out into the middle. And then walk your hands back and rise up. I'm going to face that way so that you can see me and also the camera can see me. So you want to make sure that your supporting thigh, which in this case is your left one, is vertical. So you don't want to be kind of over here somewhere. So you want to have that thigh vertical. And then you also might need to put the toes back. So you want your toes and your knee in line with each other, because that means your pelvis is in line. And then root that foot into the ground so that you feel that you're stable. Bring the palms of your hands together. Take a breath. And as you breathe out, just extend the arms out to the sides. Breathe in. And then as you breathe out, just gently reach the right arm over towards the right leg. And as you breathe in, climb back up. You can do the same thing again. So we're going to breathe out, reach over and down. And breathing in, climbing back up. And with each repetition, you can explore taking the left arm a little bit further over so you can deepen the stretch as you come up. So as you go down. And just notice how that feels to extend the stretch. We're just going to do 2 more. So lateral movements, side bends, are lovely in pregnancy because it gives you some of your space back. Creates a bit more space for you and your baby. Okay, and then when you come up this time, bring the hands back down and then walk them back out in front and slide the leg all the way back behind you. Now slide the knee all the way forwards and then stretch the back leg backwards. Okay, so you're now in this position. This is quite a nice stretch for your quad muscles on the left side. You might want to just gently rock a little bit from side to side, see how that feels, and that gets into your quad muscles and your psoas. That all good? Okay, do you fancy a downward dog? If you don't have to, you can just do some cat poses instead. If you fancy a downward dog, you place your fingers and spread them out. Push into the toes on your left leg and then just slide the right leg back first of all, and then lift the knees off the floor, and I would keep the knees bent. Push into the heels of your hands, and you want to get the sitting bones to extend up towards the ceiling. So straighten the legs, doesn't have to happen, but you want to have the length in the back. Now if this isn't for you, you can come onto your hands and just work into some cat poses instead. And then you can bring the knees down and then just resting out the wrists by coming back into your child pose. So making a space between your knees for your baby, taking your hips all the way back and resting into child pose. And just feeling that space again in the lower back. And the next time you breathe in, push into your shins, rise up, come back into your neutral position, so legs are neutral, and then extend the left leg back behind you, push the heel away, and just spend some time here working into your calf muscles. find as you progress with this stretch is that the calf muscle becomes softer, becomes looser. So the first time you do it, the first couple of seconds it's quite tight, and then it starts to loosen. So then we're going to work with those circles. You're going to circle the left leg around and then slide it all the way back. So just drawing a half circle with the hip, so just increasing the hip articulation. And then taking it to halfway, and I'll come sideways again, coming halfway around and then walking the hands back so that you come into the upright position. So again, making sure that your right thigh now is vertical and the left toes are in line with your knee so that your pelvis can lie comfortably level. And then just bring the palms of your hands together, take a breath in. And then breathe out. And breathe in here. And on the out breath, come over to the left side. So we're going to start quite gently, just to give your body time to ease into these movements. Notice if it feels different on this side. Sometimes if your baby's lying on one side, you've got a bit more space on the other side, so you might notice that you feel different from one side to the other. And again, just as we did on the previous side, you might want to explore taking the upper arm, the right arm, over a little bit more to increase the intensity of your side bend. And just one more time. And then coming up. And then we're going to walk the hands forwards again. And then slide the left leg back behind you. And then you're going to slide the knee all the way forwards between your hands. And once you're there, stretch the right leg back behind as well. So now you should feel this probably in your right quadricep muscles, the ones in front of your thigh. So just rocking gently from side to side. And then just coming back into neutral. Tuck your toes under on the right leg and then push into the heel of your hands, sliding the left knee back and then pressing back into down facing dog. So again, don't worry about the legs, keep the knees soft. Push into the heels of your hands and elevate the sitting bones up to the ceiling. And then from here, we're going to come to standing. So you've got a couple of choices. You can either walk your hands backwards towards your feet. You can walk your feet forwards towards your hands, or you can do both and meet somewhere in the middle. Just dangling here for a moment. So if you've got low blood pressure in your pregnancy, having the head down is quite a nice remedy for it, but you do have to come up quite slowly. If you've got high blood pressure, then you won't want to have your head down for too long at all, so you might want to slowly start your way back up. So to come up out of this, you're going to bend the knees and just climb up the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, and come all the way up. Okay, grab a quick drink and we'll do some standing strength-based practices. This is going to work on the hips as well, just in a slightly different way. So we're going to be working a bit more into strength element of the hips. So we're going to work with Ujjayi again, which is this throat tightening breath, which makes a slight snoring sound. It also sounds like the waves of the ocean. So it does have this very calming and soothing effect. So bringing the palms of your hands together and just balancing the weight of your body into the four corners of your feet. So by doing that, we make sure that we're not over-rotating our pelvis and tipping too far forwards. We make sure that we're not leaning over to one side. And we're finding our geographical centre. So as you breathe in, you're going to circle the arms out to the sides and up over the head and come all the way up onto your toes. Now I would fix your gaze on the ground so that you can keep your balance. And then on the out breath, you're going to lower the arms down and bring the hands all the way back down. Okay, same thing again, bend the knees, rise up onto the toes, keep the shoulders nice and soft, lift the rib cage instead, and then breathing out, slowly lowering back down. So these toe risers are quite nice, they stretch out all of the musculature in your feet. So again, the feet can suffer in pregnancy, they can swell up, or the ligaments might feel quite tight, so plantar fasciitis is that name. So anytime when we're doing these kind of movements, when we're lifting the heels up, can spread the toes and stretch all of the fascia in the feet. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of squatting now, and there's a little trick you can do. Some of you might find that this works to increase the work in the thighs. So what you can do is place a brick between the thighs, and then you grip your thighs with around the brick. So I'll show you how we're going to do this. So we start here, and then we're going to exhale, and we're going to drop the bottom backwards, gripping the thighs with the spine. You can see my spine is staying completely straight. All I'm doing is bending my knees and sending my bottom back. That's all I'm doing. So it's going straight into my glutes. I'm not doing this. Okay? So the upper body should stay completely upright. And then again, if you want to, you can grip with that. So that's just an option. If you think, oh, do you know what? Yeah, my glutes, my thighs really need some work. You can take the brick that way, so you don't have to have it that way. You can have it that way. Okay, so palms of the hands together. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, take the weight back into heels. Tilt the pelvis backwards, but keep the chest upright. And on the in-breath, push into the feet and rise up. If you're using a brick, then just keep squeezing while you do that. Is that wide enough, Natalie? Do you want to try this? Thanks, Sarah. And Kate. Yeah. Yes, it's got to be about hip width, really, and those ones, they're just a little bit too thin. Okay, so a couple more times. So dropping the weight back into the heels, keeping the chest up, and then pushing into the feet and rising up. So when you do this with the brick between the thighs, you're also working the adductor muscles that run up the insides of the thighs. And they are a very important group of muscles which help stabilise the symphysis pubis. And there goes my battery. And then release my hands down. So now we're going to work into a balance. So you're going to bring the palms of the hands together. Now if you need the wall to balance, you can just turn around and place one hand against the wall so you've got some support. And again, if you've got symphysis pubis dysfunction, then you might just want to do some heel lifts instead. So you might just want to lift the heels off the floor instead of lifting, because when you've got symphysis pubis dysfunction, this lifting on one leg can really not be good for the pelvis. So your option is just to keep the toes on the ground and keep the pelvis level. Okay, otherwise, push the palms of your hands together. Breathe in, take the arms up, take the right knee up. And then breathing out, open the arms out, open the knee out. Inhale back to the center. And exhale. Come down. Same on the other side. Come up, left knee. Exhale, turn the knee out to the side, elbows come out. Inhale, back to the center. And exhale, come down. Do the same thing again. So balancing during pregnancy, as I mentioned last week, is really useful because you're always changing where your centre of gravity is. Every time your baby grows, your centre of gravity changes, which means your proprioception and your balance needs to be worked on regularly. Otherwise you kind of lose a sense of where you are, where's your centre. And come down. And give the legs a bit of a shake, a little bit of a bounce up and down. This rebounding is quite good. It loosens up any tightness. You want to really give the body a good jiggle so that all the cells in your body get hydrated and warmed up. Okay, so from here, have your feet sort of at least hip width apart. So come to the front of your mat. And then you're going to step your right foot back and you're going to turn it out slightly. You're going to bend the left knee so that the knee sits over the ankle. So adjust your feet so that you can get the knee directly over the ankle and not too far forwards, otherwise it's going to pull the ligaments. And we kind of want the hips sort of facing a diagonal. So we're going to work with a couple of poses. So the first one, we're going to face the short edge or the front of your mat and take the arms up. I'm going to breathe in here. And then on the out breath, we're going to bring the hands down to the centre, turn towards the long edge of the mat and take the arms out at shoulder height, so warrior two. And then breathing in, bring the hands back to the centre, take them up over the head and turn towards the front of your mat. And then breathing out, coming down, keeping that front knee bent. And just doing that one more time.